Welcome back everyone to this video series, Solidity Beginner to Intermediate. So today we're going to be discussing variables and data types. All right, so in the last video I spoke about variables, how there are two types. You have your reference type variables and your value types variables. So we're gonna talk about that. I'm sorry, data types, reference data types and value data types. So we're gonna discuss that, and we're also gonna discuss variables and how to use them. All right. So what we have here is we have the two types of variables. You have state variables and local variables. So a state variable can be accessed from anywhere in the contract. Any function can access it. um, Local variables are only visible to the function itself, so all the code that is inside of the function. So what you see right here is an example of a state variable, and in this state variable you can have a function. Let's call it get value. So let's make that public and say returns and int 256. Return. Basically saying that because this is public, this function is able to access it. So you could even do something like this: one int add. Actually, let me just make that more basic. So you can do 1 + 1. So that is gonna be 2. So if you return that, it's adding 1 + 1, which is 2, and subscribing. I'm sorry. What's the right word? You're initializing that. No, actually, so you're basically just turning the value into 2. So there's another way you can do this where you just add to it. So if I was to do this 2, that would be 3. So 2 plus this 1 up here, 3. um so and that's only possible because this is a state variable, right? um So if this was a local variable, let me give you an example of a local variable. Let's just change that around. Let's see. An example of a local variable. So uint 256. This is that. Oh, let me see this error. What is this error saying? Oh, so this should be uint. Uint. Okay. So you basically have to be explicit and describe the data type of the variable that you're returning right here. So returns uint 256. This is a uint 256 because we declared it as a uint 256. All right. So this value is only visible to the context to this what is in this function, right? So you cannot access this value from any other function, and you can do whatever operation you want to do with this and then return that value open. So or only. So that is a local variable. So let's see. Local variable. All right. So let's look at something else. Another data type which is very important is strings. So and bytes. It's 32. So a string looks like this. You declare a string like this. So that is a string. Um, there's also another data type that is used instead of strings a lot more often called bytes 32. The reason for that is it's a lot more performant. Takes up a little bit less memory, and within the context of a smart contract, it's just easier to manipulate with bytes 32. Let's see. 32. So you can use it just the same way you use a string. It's actually better to use bytes 32. But these two data types are available to you. We also have something called addresses. So you click address and make a public my address. And then you take an address. Let me just grab one of my addresses here. Just to give you an example. So that's what an address looks like. So this is another value type of data type. So let's look at something called structs. So a structure, which struct is short for structure. Structure is a combination of different data types. It's kind of designed to hold a set of data that maybe relates to a particular thing or use case. One example that I can think of is an NFT, token. So a structure might look something like this. Structure looks something like this. Let's see, auction item. So um, you're probably gonna want to have something like address, uh, maybe owner or say seller, the seller of this particular NFT. To hold that data type so that his address can be put in that slot. You're probably gonna want something like an item ID. So item ID. You might want something like the floor price. And yeah, so that's it for now. But you can imagine that you can have a lot more information in this structure. So yeah, and the way you would actually add data to the structure, so you would do something like this: auction item, the data type, and then you could go, um, let's call this auction, and then you put a new auction item, and then you fill in each data point. So the first one would be address, so let's use my address. The second one would be an item ID, so let's say an ID of 1. And the third one would be a floor price. So let's call that one ether. I'm not sure if I can write it like that, but let's just put in a large number, right? So this is how you would create a new structure. Let's see what error I'm getting here. Uh, okay, sorry. That new was not necessary. Um, yeah, error on my part. But this is what you do to create a new structure. So you declare the structure, the shape of it, what it looks like, the type of data types that go into one of these structures, and this is how you actually create a new structure. So the name of the structure is a data type, and then you give it whatever variable name you want, and then you add the data in according to the shape of the structure. So that's that structure. So let's see. So there are a few other data types, like a Boolean, which is true or false. So you go public a true. All right. So you can use that for many different use cases, whether you want to test a value for if something is true, you can use it in multiple ways of using it, and we're gonna go over some of those ways in the videos to come. So you'll actually see how that's used, but it's a basic concept in programming, Boolean values. All right, so let's look at one of the more tricky things in Solidity development is understanding um, the numbers. We're gonna have a future video that actually goes a little bit deeper into the math, but the math is really simple. It just seems a little bit complex. It was a little bit intimidating for me at first, but it's not as complicated. I mean, you can do things in math in Solidity that are very complicated, but just understanding the basics, it's not that complicated. So let's look at some values. So first we have like unsigned integers, right? So uint, and the alias for uint 256 is just uint, but I like to be explicit in my coding, so I say uint 256, so you know exactly what we're working with. And basically, what that is let's see, so that is 0 to 2 to the power 256 minus 1. With the unsigned integer, so it only starts from 0, so it doesn't have any sign in front of it, so no negative signs. So it starts from 0 all the way up to 2 to the 256 power minus 1, which is a ridiculously large number. All right, so that's what uint 256 stands for. Let's see, let's create a variable called u256. U256, and let's just put a number in there. Okay. So you also have, let's see, uint 8, so much smaller number, and that is 0 to 256, sorry, 8 minus 1, which is a lot smaller. And I believe that can only hold 2 digits. Yeah, so it can only hold 3 digits. So 999 will be the largest number it can hold. So that is that is a method right there. And there are lots of other numbers. You can check out the Solidity docs. There's also, let's see, 16, which would be, it will follow the same pattern. 16, 0 to 2. Sorry, my typing is atrocious. 16 minus 1, and so on and so forth. So you should get the point by now. So there are lots of other values like this, but and you can switch between these to make your code more performant, save on gas prices. So it's not all the time you're gonna want to use a uint 256. It won't be necessary. Sometimes you only need something like a uint 8 or a uint 32. So just be mindful of that going forward. And there's a an interesting way to find. Oh, and also before I break, it's the same for integers, right? So let's do this here. Int 256 is actually -2 to the 256 all the way to 256 at the -1, -1, -1. So a very, very large number. And it's all the way from -2 to the 256, all the way past 0, all the way to 2 to the 256 -1. So a very large number. All right, so that's the difference with uint and uint, int and uint. All right, so and there's an interesting way to quickly look up these numbers in Solidity. You can do something like this. Max int yeah, so just like that. So you just write type, put in the data type dot max, and it's the same for min. I'm going to compile this and show you guys because it's actually interesting to see. Min int. So let's compile this really quickly. Get rid of that. So variables and data types. So let me just give you a quick crash course. I'm gonna do a video on showing you how to use this, but basically we're just gonna use the virtual machine, the virtual wallet, I should say, the VM wallet. It's not a real wallet. They give you a bunch of crypto here just to play around and test. So this isn't real money. Contract. So you can quickly deploy a contract. You'll see it's in the list here because you can have multiple contracts on the page. And click deploy. And then they give you a nice little interface to interact with your contract. So right here where it says max and min, let's see if I find that. So maximum integer. So right there, this is actually a number. That's how ridiculously large the number is. Min. So this is the same number, negative. So that's what that is right there. Let's see what else. Yeah, so I think that's it for this video. So this is just a quick rundown on data types. We're gonna do more detailed videos on reference data types, but this is generally a basic overview of how you use variables and the different types of variables in Solidity, and how some of the basic math works, which this isn't actually just math, actually it's just showing you how large a number is, but they're a little, the math only gets slightly more complicated, and it's not that difficult. It only seems that way. But yeah, so that's it. Thanks for checking out the video. Stick around for the next video coming up, and I'll see you guys later.